This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So, so what does it mean? So, what I was talking about that when the services is procurement is done by any businesses, that we are supposed to the government vendor need to like the company which buys that services, they are supposed to they are supposed to deduct some percentage of amount. So, I'm going to give that example right now. So, if I am purchasing professional expenses like professional consulting from anybody, any company or any person, I'm supposed to deduct some percentage. That means without TDS, what is going to happen? I'll pay 1,000 rupees. That means so 1,000 rupees expenses I'll make and 1,000 rupees vendor will get paid. This is normal entry without TDS. So with TDS means what? If I'm supposed to deduct some amount means without TDS with TDS. So the same entry will be done like this. At the time of booking bill, I need to deduct like TDS, like they say for example 10%. I need to deduct 100 rupees here, and I should only make a bill of 900 rupees. So what happened at the time of GST? So we used to add some amount additionally. We used to pay to the vendor. Vendor used to pay to government. That is GST. But in TDS, whatever the payment which you are, want to pay to the whatever the bill he raises, we have to deduct some percentage based on the type of services, and we have to pay this 100 rupees whatever we deducted. Need to pay this to government. We are supposed to pay this instead of paying to the vendor. We pay to the government. When vendor is filing his income tax, so then he is going to do like whatever the adjustments he will make it there. So this is what the TDS entries. This is how the TDS works. So now in SAP, what we are going to do, we are going to learn how to make these TDS entries in SAP. That's what we are learning. SAP is a software, right? So that accounting entries, how it's going to be triggered in SAP, that we are going to learn now. So again, the concept of this one is going to be the same. First, so TDS is also called in SAP. In SAP, TDS is called withholding tax. If I use withholding tax or TDS, both are same term. Okay. Now let us move to the configuration. So that means the same concept. I go for this withholding tax WHT I tell in short or TDS. First we have to do the configuration. That is WHT configuration or without TDS configuration we should do. Then the master data, which are like tax codes as well as the GL accounts we have to create and entries. There are many types of taxes. That means, say for example, WST example. I use the word WHT, withholding tax code. Example, rent services I already mentioned. Professional consulting or technical services. Like this, many things we can add. For everything, say in India, we have sections. For example, for 90, as per my knowledge, is 194 J or B will come. A professional consultant, something is there like this. Different codes are there. So that's not much important for us. For us is to how it need to be accounted now. Because when you are doing in real time, we get this all these details from client itself, what and all they required. For everything, generally we keep a separate GL. For example, this is 194B, and just let me check out in SAP only. Like here is there 194A, 194B, like this. You can keep this and try. It's not actually this much is enough. Just an idea. What is this? That's it. So for everything, generally we keep separate GLs in real time for each sections. But now we are going to learn only one thing. Let us learn a simple thing like one how we can make an accounting in this. So for example, 194J, professional tax. 194J, professional tax. Example, I will take it. Professional consulting or professional service, professional and technical services. Okay, so let me take 10% we have to deduct. Just assume that it's in 10% chargeable. I'm going to show this example how we can make the accounting in SAP. First, we have to create a GL account because I want to post a GL account for this. It's a liability GL. So what are the example? It's a liability because we are supposed to pay to the government because we are deducting from vendor and we are supposed to pay to the government. So let me create a GL account. So it's liability under current liabilities only. I'll take it. I use this further. I make it from the 20 series, 21 I'll create. I can skip the GL accounts in between, not a problem. The same balance sheet and other things. And here like 194J, professional tech services, tech services, WHT, GL. Okay. So it should not be having any tax category and open item management fee should be there and other things are same. A single GL I create. So now in SAP, as you know already, you already become little bit familiar. SAP do not allow us to post any interest manually. If you want to post this transaction automatically, system automatically posts this transaction. Yes. So how we can do this one? So that means if sometimes for some vendors, if I want to post the transactions, that is TDS need to be deducted and calculation of 10% and it need to post to this GL account. So I can make it. So that's the configurations which we are doing now. For TDS configuration or WHT configurations, the steps are there. Okay. One is basic settings. Okay. So then we have calculations. So then company code settings. then finally postings. Okay, these 4 steps need to be done. What is this basic testing and other things I tell you? So be clear here. 2 things you have to be very clear. There's a note. One is the sections. Section means here in India. In India, sections means type of TDS or withholding tax. But in SAP, section code we call it. Section code is it's a location or else an identity is an identity in business place. So business place means place in SAP. Each state name, each state in India, state means Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, like that. Each state in India called business place. Place in SAP. So what does it mean? What I'm trying to tell? See, each state we identified with business place. And within business place, if you want to identify, for example, in Karnataka, if you want to identify Bangalore, then we can use section code. Section code is different, and section means in India we use it. That is the TDS type or something. This sections we call it. So don't get confused with this terminology because I use this section and section. Section code means it's an identity of a place within business place. Business place means it's a state identity of India. Okay, that's it. You should have this clarity. Now in basic settings, let us see some of the configuration. Okay. So one more thing which I want to add, the sections of TDS or withholding tax type called withholding tax key, WHT key in SAP. So this is one more adding. So what is this? So these sections in India, this we call these as 194 or 194B, the type of services TDS we call sections. But in SAP, the section we call section code is an identity of a place or within business place. Business place is identified as states. And if you want to identify the sections in SAP, that is called in SAP as withholding tax key. It's not much important, but basically, when you are trying to be in real time, it's need to be understood. This it will help you in future and also sometimes when you're practicing. Now let us go for business, basic settings first. So that there is no T codes for this. We directly their T codes are there, but I don't use it. I go with path. So under financial accounting, under financial accounting global settings, we have one option here, withholding tax. So under that, you should go for extended withholding tax. Here you find this all 4 steps. One is basic settings, calculation, company code, and posting. All 4 are there, whatever I mentioned. Under basic settings, we are going to do 2 steps. Okay, one is business place creation. Another one is section code creation. These 2 things which you are going to do. So where I'm going to do here under basic settings, go to India. In India, we have this defined business place and define section code. These two things we are going to do here. Go here, just create one. Each state we have to create, but I create only one here. Karnataka I'll create. Go to new entries and enter code, 4-digit code. I'll create it like KA01. Business place for Karnataka. Okay, and save it. Just enter the save it directly. It is done. That's it. It's simple. Within this, we have to create. If you required any section code, you can create, or else for a dummy purpose, we have to create one section code. It's mandatory. Here, activate section define text section code here. Click here. Go to new entries. I create section code also 01 because in India we don't have subsections for this TDS. It's handled in with the central government. So you can make it K01 and make section code, because subsection is not equal, just for mandatory purpose I'm creating section code for KA01, and it will falls under business place KA01. So what does it mean? I created business place, under business place I created section code KA01 KA01. That's it. This is the basic settings which we should do. After doing this basic settings, let us go for calculation. What is the calculations we planned for this 194J? So now if I want to create these calculations, I have two things to be done here. One is withholding tax. What is that? Sorry, I forgot the terminology. Type. WHT type we should create, and WHT tax code, that is code. WH means withholding tax code. WHT withholding tax code we should create, withholding tax type we should create. Means the calculations is going to happen like this. So for example, I create a tax and tax code. I create a tax type and tax codes with the same name. Example, it's going to be 4-digit. We can create. Okay. Say for example here calculation. I go here and withholding tax, first one, define withholding tax type for invoice posting for India. So it's a 2-digit code, so not 4-digit. 2-digit. What I do, I'll create like this. You can create any combination. Okay, that's a 2-digit code, but I'll create little bit strange because it's very difficult to find. It's already created. Your whatever you. I'll create it like 9J. So both you can do the same codes, 9J, 9J. You can create whatever you want. So now I go here and I go to new entries and enter 9J here, withholding tax type, and mention that. So 194J withholding tax for professional and technical services, 10%. It's a TDS is 10%. And you can save this. That's it. Come back. The second one, you have to create tax code now. So tax code, just below this you have withholding tax code. Go here, define withholding tax codes. Go to new entries. It's a tax code. When you're posting, we use this tax code so that transactions will get posted automatically. So here you have to enter the tax type what you created already, 9J, and also 9J here, and the withholding tax key 194J I said na, that you can pick up. I mentioned already what is withholding tax key. It's the sections in India. 194J is here. So mention this 194J professional and technical services 10%, and give percentage subject to 100%, 100 here, and here you should give 1, and here you should give the 10. So what does it mean? When I use this 9J, when I use this 9J tax code at the time of posting, system should calculate 100 on 100 amount, 100% amount it has to calculate. So posting indicator should be 1, a separate line should come, and the tax rate is 10. It should calculate 10%, just like it GST, and save it. So after doing this, the third step is posting. Yes. If I not activate, so this withholding tax, we need to activate and assign these taxes to the company code, because see, withholding tax codes are created in a country. I should assign this to my company code. This is the third step. I should assign this to my company code, saying that I use this 9J tax codes for my company code, and I should activate withholding tax. These are the two steps. One is assign withholding tax types, types or codes. Actually, types we assign to company code, and activate withholding tax in company code. So go here, go to company code, third step, assign withholding tax types to company code and activate, two steps. Go here and go to new entries and enter the company code. My company code is B-21. I am telling the system my company code. I use withholding tax type which is connected to tax code 9J. It should be withholding tax agent should be clicked, and it should give the name, date, withholding subjects, when it should start. You can give the starting year of the starting, and you can give 31 12 9. It is end for this life. Nobody is alive on the time. Just I'm giving this date. From it is the tax. This tax code should be activated from 01/01/2024 till the end of the era. And also you should select subject to withholding tax. What you have to do here, you have to enter the tax type, and you have to enter the we have to select this withholding tax agent, enter the date, and enter the subject to withholding tax, and save it. So now this tax code is assigned to my company, so that I can use it to my company code. Now go back and activate. So by default withholding tax is not activated. By default withholding tax is not activated to companies. I show you before that, before activating here. I go to FB16. You notice here there is a basic payments details, taxes, and notes are there. Okay. After activating in this tab, find the company code. Select. I am telling the system in my company code withholding tax should be activated. Yes, activated extend withholding tax function. Save it. It is activated, right? Right now, then I'll open one more screen. Now you see the difference. After activating, the same screen started adding withholding tax tab here. So it was not there before. It is here. That means it's default. It's the withholding tax will not be there. We have to create that, and we have to activate. So then it starts showing in that the time of vendor posting. It will ask for withholding tax. Anything is there like that. So the third step is completed finally. So system got to know that now what is actually the business place, Karnataka business place, and other things. And calculation I already said 10% should be calculated. And the third one, it's activated. Finally, if I calculate what is the GL to be posted, just like we know the GST we have done, right? Now here, so accounts for withholding tax, you should go here. The first one, the define accounts for withholding tax to be paid over. Tell the system here it does not have different keys, like there are we have MWS, VST, lot of things are there, right, in GST. We have seen this today only, like accounting keys, MWS, different GL account. But here it is not like that. Here only one key, only one transaction key by default, that is WIT. You don't need to choose any key here. Directly select. I want system should find the, in my company code, I want system should find the GL account with the combination of withholding tax type and tag code, and save this. So now it will ask, okay, if the withholding tax code is 9 type and the code is 9J, then system should post to this GL account. That is my instruction to the system. So I hope till here is clear. Any questions? Any questions? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So finally, there are some two additional steps which you have to do. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the classes, like in the beginning of the course itself, yes, Nagalakshmi, you have to create separate GLs for each code. Okay, in real time. So in the beginning of the year, additional means there is something like not much important or something which is required mandatory like that. There's additional two configurations we have to do with this. One is assign number ranges for withholding tax certificate. So generally what happens in real time, so companies has to issue the certificates to the tax deduction. That means whenever I deduct the tax from the vendor, I'm supposed to give him certificate that I deducted this much. Like that. He is going to submit that certificate to government to claim back the 2 years. So, but so here that not that much. Sorry, this one only number ranges. NR means number ranges we need to assign and activate or in logistics general module need to need to assign need to assign starting month of fiscal year. These are two steps we have to do. Okay, don't worry about why you are doing this. As I mentioned, this for certificate and this one is one step. Just first let me do the certification. So what you should do, just below this, in under posting itself, we have certificate number for withholding tax. Just what you should do now here, there is one option is there, assign number grouping for number classes. This one, assign number grouping for group 4 to number classes. Just click on this. Just follow what I do. Just follow what I do. Go to new entries and enter your company code B-21. Enter in keyboard. Go to number class here. Go inside. Whatever the number class is there, just select that. Whatever it is there, just select and save it. No need to worry about anything. Just it's generate one number and other things. Don't worry. What did I do? I selected the company code and I entered in keyboard, so it selected 4. And just go inside whatever is available, just select and save it. That's it. This is the one step. Second step is under logistics general module, a separate module it is actually logistics general. Here you should go to taxes on global, yeah, tax on goods movement in India, basic settings, company code settings. You should go to this step. I mentioned the path here. Logistics general module, tax on goods movement, India, basic settings, So finally, company code settings. You should go to this path, maintain company code setting. Just execute here. Simple thing. What you do now? Go to new entries and enter your company code B-21. Select the first month. What's my first month? Actually, I'm following Jan to December, so I select. If you're following April to March, then you should select first month is April, like that. Save it. So this completes the configurations. So what did I do? First, I mentioned about the basic settings. Then we had gone to the calculations. How we can do? We have created type and code. And for the type, we are assigned to the company code and activated the company code, the radius. And the postings, we started doing this GL assignment. Finally, additional configurations we have done. So this completes the configuration. At the time of master data here, so tax codes need to be assigned. Tax codes, that is TDS, withholding tax codes, or TDS codes, TDS tax codes, need to assign to vendor master, that is BP. Why? See what we have done here at the time of GST. So at the time of GST, we had an option here to select the tax codes, what taxes need to be calculated on this transaction. For withholding tax, we don't have that option. Withholding tax has come here. You can come back and check that. Now withholding tax tab is showing for every entry. If I select this, if I go here, so we don't have that option of selecting withholding tax here. We don't have that option. Why it does not have option of selection? See, every vendor will not fall under these taxes. Every time if you want to select or something, it's difficult. In that, for that reason, instead of selecting that, assign tax codes, that is withholding tax codes, to vendor master itself. Like if you have, that means what? If you have 10 vendors, out of that only 2 vendors are subjected to withholding tax. Other 8 is not there. Other 8, it will not calculate, it will not ask at all. If it is other only 2, it will ask. Whichever is you activated in vendor must, it will calculate that withholding tax. Okay, that's the reason. So now what you should do? I select one vendor. I go to BP. I select supplier number and I select the vendors here. You can choose whichever the vendor you want. I select like Arjun Technologies. Enter. For this vendor, for this vendor, Arjun Technology, I'm telling the system when you're booking invoices, he is subjected to withholding tax. So go to edit here, go to FLVN00, that's the company code segment. Go to company code. Here we have an option withholding tax, vendor withholding tax. Just click on this. Tell the system this vendor is subject. This will come. This will select. Like I tell this 9J is subjected to professional services he will give. So that means system what happens? System automatically pick up this code. Okay, is subjected, but other vendors will not ask for withholding tax. So only we have to identify which of the vendors are those or comes under withholding tax. Then we can select, and you should select this subject to withholding tax. So why do we select this one? Sometimes some vendors, for some reasons, for some time they may not require to calculate the tax for some months, like few months. Maybe government given the exemption for starting 33 months, starting some amount of turnovers like that. So that system on the time you can come and deselect. So the system will not calculate tax. If you select, it will calculate tax. Save it. So you have to save this first. After saving, remember, after saving this, click on this. Don't change the role. Click on general data. Go to vendor country specific enhancement tab. Oh, this is not coming here. This is screen errors. You find this in your system. Okay. You find this one. Okay, you find here what you should enter here. You find the tab here. No need to worry. Here, if you come down, you will find PAN number. You have to enter the PAN number here. So because for TDS, PAN number is mandatory. So when you click on this, you find this. Just come down a little bit, and you find PAN number. Enter the PAN number, 10-digit code, whatever it is, and save it. But I do that in the backend. I correct it. Okay, there is some screen error is there. I'll correct this. Give me just 1 minute.
This conference will
So
now
now,
be
as I
recorded.
mentioned, that PAN number is updated. Once the PAN number is updated, now let us try the entry now. So I go to FB60 for Arjun Technologies. I'll pick up because that is the vendor which I updated with this one. So go to 20 here and 100 rupees, 1000 rupees I'll take. And here you should select the business placement section here. So we have created KA01 business place and we have created section code KA01. It is mandatory, you should select after activating business this one withholding tax. When those you are processing any TDS, then you should select business place and you can mention vendor invoice with TDS. And as usual, the normal entry. So 1000 rupees is mentioned, 1000 rupees is mentioned, debit and credit. Okay. Here, if you click on this withholding tax, you see that it's activated now, only for this vendor. 9J, whatever I mentioned in BP. Okay, so if you simulate this, now you see automatically it's calculating 10%. The bill amount is 1000, but vendor is getting 900 rupees only. 100 rupees it is posting to this. That means we are supposed to pay to the government. So the same thing if I select other vendor because I have not activated in their account, like Arshita, if I select, okay, if I try to post withholding tax, it won't work because in BP we have to activate that. See here, it is grayed out here. So whichever the vendors which is assigned with tax codes that will come here. Whichever the vendors is not assigned, it's not going to be come here. So that's it. Okay. So one thing I have shown you how to calculate taxes. There are some scenarios. Okay. Scenario one or two scenarios are there. I will tell you. Normal. Okay, it's calculated 10%. Sometimes what happens, like need to calculate less or more TDS. Sometimes it's happens. Say for example, now I calculate 10% here. Normal entry at 10%. You see that it's calculated 10%. If you simulate, it's going to be 10%. Like out of 1000 rupees, it's calculated 100 rupees TDS. Sometimes you see that, like he has mentioned, he has supplied 100 rupees, like for 400 rupees services, 500 rupees, like for 40% is actually service because we have to deduct the TDS only for service, not for the materials. For 40% service, 60% is material. That 60% is not subject to withholding tax. So what you can do with this? So you can modify here itself. Here you can tell the system, okay, only withholding tax base only calculate for 400 rupees. If you enter the amount here, it will calculate 400 rupees only taxes. Say for example, now you see that it's calculated only 40 rupees. 40 rupees. It works in vice versa for even if you make it like if you want to calculate more. Example, I want to calculate 20%. So if you enter 2000 rupees, calculate as a 2000 rupees base. So it will calculate to 200 rupees now. Because sometimes it's required in companies. Okay, that you should understand. So save it. Second scenario, sometimes you don't need to calculate TDS at all. So due to some reasons, a lot of times it will come. No need to, even though it's assigned with this one, you might have sent only materials. No need to calculate TDS. So then you should just what you should do now. In withholding, if you don't want to calculate, just delete this code. I'm telling don't calculate TDS. It won't calculate at all. Okay. So there is one more option. No, one more thing is there. TCS, tax collected at source. This introduced recently, like maybe from last 5 6 years back. Tax collected at source. That means TDS means what? When we are paying to the vendor, we collect the tax. There is some scenarios. If any companies, this is for information I'm telling. Okay, if any companies transaction or turnover with customers, I'm not talking about vendor, customers, crosses 50 lakh in a year, then for each or else for every transaction after 50 lakh turnover, need to collect TCS from tax collected from source. That means TCS from customers on percentages. Generally, it is 0.1%. Say for example, after 50 lakhs is crossed, if you are selling something to some, like say for example, I'm selling to Arshita. Arshita made 50 lakh rupees transactions with us in a particular year. So then I'm supposed to from April to March, April. Now it's July. So she completed 50 lakhs transaction with me. Then I'm supposed to for whole year, I'm supposed to collect 0.1% on each sales whatever I do to Rashida for this year. That's the condition. This is TCS. But this TCS is exempted if customer who crosses 50 lakh, if that means I make it simple, if customer turnover of their company it's more than 10 crore, last year. So what is this? See, if Arshita is okay, one condition, whatever I said on the top, I'm supposed to collect 0.1% from Arshita if she crosses turnover 50 lakh rupees in my company. But this is exempted if is Arshita's companies, not with me, company's turnover is more than 10 crore in last year, last financial year. If she intimates, okay, my turnover is more than 10 crore last year, so then I'm not supposed to collect the taxes. So this is out. Generally, these TCSs and all will be applied from the sales order. The sales and distribution consultant will make in conditions and other things. At the time of sales, system automatically check, okay, that customers taxes is completed or not. Okay, that 50 lakh is crossed, and if she intimated 10 lakhs, we have to develop some custom programs and all. So we did this for companies. So then it will automatically calculate. Generally, we don't do it. Finance people do not do it, but we are responsible to accountability. So because these terminologies will come in at the time of interview, at the time of when you're sitting with with your clients and all, then you should be aware of this. What is TCS? What is that? The TCS is going to be calculated and we collect from the customers, and also we are also supposed to pay if my like if I'm purchasing from Nagalakshmi and my turnover is crosses 50,000, I'm supposed to pay 0.1%, just like a GST. Adding TCS means adding the value. I need to pay 1.1% to the Nagalakshmi. Nagalakshmi will pay to the government, but I'm supposed to account it just like in GST paid. Okay, this you should research, tune up something, and you have to come up with your clarification. If you are not understanding, this is only for information. This I'm not showing anything information. Okay, do some R&D on this. If you're not getting something, you can ask me the question in the next class. But till here it is TDS. So now assignment for this TDS. Should create new company code for TDS and do at least 5 types of TDS deduction for 5 vendors. For 5 vendors. That means you have to create 5 vendors and you have to create 5 TDS codes. Like you can take this example. Whichever you would like to you take, you can take. And you have to, I created only for 194J, but you have to create for other 4 also, including 5. You have to do 5. You have to create 5 GLs and five things. This is your assignment, and also TDS on advance is there. That I cannot show you because for that I need to show vendor advance. That I'm going to take it at the end. I added BAPI also. So TDS on vendor advance. This is one of the important thing which I'll show it as an additional topic. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll meet again.